All right, we're back with Officer Dana Cato, marching through his book, Inshallah, which has been nominated for the Military Writers Society.
Yeah.
Gold, silver, or bronze, you'll find out at the end of next month
September, yeah.
in Kansas City. All right. Well, before we get into this one, you had some stuff.
Yeah. I gave you a name of a guy who was a prisoner of war in Hanoi last time, and I think I used a magician's name and not his name. His name was Doug Hegdahl, and he was dubbed the stupid one because he didn't know anything, and they had beat enough out of him to realize he didn't know anything. So they gave him a lot of free reign run in the Hanoi Hilton to sweep the floors, clean the place up. This is how he memorized everybody's name. And he told us some pretty cool stories over there. One of them was that they had built pool tables because he told the Vietnamese they couldn't beat these guys at pool. And they were like, sure we can. So he builds pool tables just to be able to get the prisoners out of their cells. And they would lose these pool games on purpose, of course. And then just, Vietnamese would celebrate. But he had a way of making sure he knew who everybody was, had them memorized by name, made sure he kept them active and moving. And just if you ever get an opportunity to read his story, it is quite intriguing.
And he just basically talked trash and said, you can't beat these guys.
Oh, they would do it all the time. And the Vietnamese would make up funny names for them and call them all these things and demeanor them. And they didn't mind because
why would you?
It got them out. It got them out. It got them moving around. And it was just it's very intriguing the way people think when you're in those situations, and how do we get one step ahead?
The creativity that shows in a situation where, I mean, it's more of like a mix between desperation and creativity at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're behind. You're a prisoner. You're being beat for information. You're being bartered for whatever the case may be, and still, these little ways they came up with achieving a victory, even a small victory, but it was a victory, and it kept them alive and it kept them moving, right?
It did.
So yeah, I just wanted to make sure I corrected his name and didn't do him an injustice. So.
And you said his name was
Hegdahl, Doug Hegdahl.
Doug Hegdahl.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting story.
Not Doug Henning, which I think is a magician. And, but
Hey, that's okay. All right. Well, this is so last time, The Awakening, that was an hour and a half. That was great.
It was a long time. Yeah, it was a good one.
It covered everything from just what was happening. Like, there was a lot of action happening, but then also like the mental and emotional component of just trying to understand the people that you're dealing with on a human level, while there's like car bombs.
Sure. Yeah. Trying to understand them in their backyard and not mine. It'd be like me coming in your house and you invite me in.
Always.
And I just start going through cabinets. And you're like, what are you doing? Well, I thought I might have a glass of iced tea. Where are the glass? Well, if you'd just asked me, I'd have told you. So it was kind of like that. I walked into their country and I started opening cabinets when I should have been going, hey, where's the glasses? I'd like to get something to drink. And so I had to learn. I had to start learning. I got to ask them questions. I got to watch some things. I got to sit back. I got to learn. I wasn't as educated as I thought I was.
And you had to learn that you had to learn.
Absolutely.
And that's got to kind of make you take a step back.
Oh, it really
just
did.
To
really did.
Be like, I thought I knew what I was doing here. And
right. Yeah.
And you know what you were doing. It's just, now you get to realize like how I do it's got to.
I thought I knew what I was doing. I really did. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I know I can do this. I got it. I didn't know what I was doing. I was going to have to, I knew what I was doing from a tactical standpoint.
Right.
I knew what I was doing from a defensive and physical security standpoint. I knew that. I didn't know the people I was dealing with. I didn't know the environment I was in. I thought I did. I thought I understood that too. I thought I had been around in the military long enough, in the Middle East long enough to understand exactly what I was standing in, what I was doing. I didn't. I didn't. Because once again, we go back to I was embedded with them now. I wasn't on the other side of them. I was on their side. And, I was in their house. I was looking for the glasses. I wanted a glass of tea, and I wasn't asking anybody where the glasses were. And that was the problem.
Well, that takes us right into this. And what it kind of ended with your translator, Safe, and you guys having a falling out. Just realizing you guys were on different pages.
Yep.
And that was where the title of the book came, Inshallah.
Yes.
And you were frustrated by that because it was these horrible things were happening and you're trying to make sense of it and how to fix it or prevent it. And he's just kind of like, meh, inshallah, God willing, if God wills this kid to die, he'll die. And you like, that's a hard thing to accept. And so you didn't understand how he was so almost dismissive about it. He didn't understand why.
I was so upset about
why
it.
you think you can control.
Yeah.
Why you have any say if it is inshallah, if it is God's will, like what's your problem? Like, do you think you know more than God does if it's God willing? So there was this kind of divergence of, and then one of the last quotes, not the last quote, but one of the last quotes is, I did not comprehend his world and he knew it. And that kind of set you back a little bit, just emotionally and mentally, but relief is coming.
Relief's coming. Yeah.
And so this is a great follow-up on that. It takes a step back from the action, but in the story arc, it allows like the heroes fallen a little bit, meaning you, of course. And then this is sort of like a classic movie where you meet somebody who helps you kind of understand and realize where things are, and that would be Amal.
I look back on this now and especially with the story and I think sitting here talking to you kind of helps me analyze this thing even more, that I did not want to write a war story. I didn't. I wanted to write a story about the humanity of what was going on over there. And I believe I captured that a little bit. And, when you talk about heroes of anything, these people that I'm writing about, they are the heroes. Mm-hmm. They're the hero that got this country going to where, its own freestanding government and moving forward. They really were the people that were the foundation and the bedrock to start moving this country in the right direction. It wasn't me, because at the end of the day, if everything over there truly would have just collapsed, I mean like major apocalyptic collapse, I was going home.
That's true.
I was going home. They're home. They've got nowhere else to go. This thing either goes up or it goes down. And it wasn't going to be because of CATOE. It was going to be because of these people.
That's it. Now that you say that about, you didn't want to write a war story, you wanted to write a story about humanity. We're more than a third of the way through, not quite half. And there's been some action, some bullets flying, shrapnel flying, picnic tables exploding. And I would say it's been like, it's a page turner, but not that much. It is, these people that you talk about, these are not characters in this story. Like, they are the story.
They are the story.
And I think now that you say that, I think that's very clear. So if that was your goal, I would definitely say you nailed it.
Now, don't get me wrong. The bullets, the rockets, they're coming.
Yeah.
They're coming. But,
yeah.
But the underlying piece of this whole thing is, without the people in this book that I came across, without the government themselves, the people that I met within the government, without my translator, without all of these Iraqis on the ground, this government never gets up and moves forward. It has to be them. It can't be me. It can't be America. It's got to be them. They've got to do it. Because we're not there now. We're going to stay there forever, right? You either make this thing happen or it just collapses. So it's going to be up to you. And there's going to be some tragedy they've got to deal with to get through this thing. I just ride the wave with them sometime.
And you definitely did. You said it would be a while before Saif wanted your opinion concerning his country. I mean, like you said, like you knew what you were doing tactically. Like you knew the job. There's a whole chapter called The Job where you outline this is what you're tasked with doing, and you're obviously in that position because you're capable of doing it. But there's the humanity, because of what happened at the end of the previous chapter and the frustration with that and the car bomb and the dad and the little boy. You said it would be a while before Saif wanted your opinion concerning his country. So this is kind of this turning point where just when you realize you need to learn more, the person that you kind of learn it from is gone. Like in Saif, you guys are. So you're kind of the moment you realize, hey, I need somebody to help. Your help is gone, and that's what happens in this one is you find Amal and you go through, you explain in a couple paragraphs kind of your first encounter, and so without reading it, you can just tell us.
Well, I was kind of I walked into the government building and I just happened to walk by this room full of computers, and like I say in there, it looked like like one of our classrooms here, a computer business room kind of looked like, but a little smaller, and there was a female standing there, nicely dressed female, with long hair, the whole deal. She didn't appear to me in any way, shape, or form to be a Muslim, or what I considered a Muslim woman to be. And she kind of caught me staring at her, and of course I introduced myself, and she introduced herself as Amal. Her name was Amal. And I asked her how she was doing. She had a casual conversation, and she said that she was going to be the one that was going to teach the Iraq government workers coming in how to work computers, how to do computers, how to do business, this, not necessarily work on them, but just get on them and start doing what you need to do, filing, whatever you call that in the computer world. So, because I was as stupid to that as anybody could be. But that was going to be her job, and she was very nice and spoke English so very well, and we got to talking. And I said, well, you don't seem like the typical Muslim woman. And she said, oh, I'm not Muslim, I'm a Christian. And it just floored me. Boom. There can't be Christians in Iraq. This is not possible, right? Never thought there'd be Christians in Iraq. And I remember asking her, I was like, I'm looking around, like, did she just say this out loud? Is somebody going to try to kill us or
like,
kill
are
her?
people supposed to know?
Right,
Is it a
right.
secret?
So I'm like, do you worship, do y'all worship like at your house? Because I told her, I said, I'm a Christian too. I was like, do y'all worship at your house, underground? No, we have a church.
Really?
Yeah, they had a church there. Yeah, there's Catholic churches there and Eastern Orthodox churches there, and this is just kind of blowing my mind. And here's my next stupid question: does Saddam know?
I have that highlighted.
Yeah, does Saddam know that y'all have Christian? Of course he does. Of course he does. Yeah, he knows. And I'm like, well, why? Why wouldn't y'all leave? Because I'm thinking this is bad.
He's persecuting the Christians.
Terrible.
Yeah.
She said, well, we did. We got together and we wrote him a letter and said I think they kind of wanted to go to Jordan. We would like to move out of the country where we would have a little, because they weren't worried about Saddam. That's funny. They weren't. They were worried about everybody else around them. right?
Everybody else, like within his government?
No, the people, the Shia, the Sunni, that didn't like the Christians.
But Saddam was.
But not Saddam. So they wrote him a letter and they gave that concern. We would like to go out of the country because, we fear that we could be persecuted by those around us in the Islamic religion that hate us. And Saddam, according to her, wrote them a letter back, which would have been the archbishop there, and said to her, and I quote this, "You Christians are the rose in my garden. I cannot let you leave." But he protected them. He did not allow them to be persecuted, or he protected, and I don't know why.
Yeah, that was my question.
You know, and I don't know why. And she talked to me as if Saddam was just this great guy. Well, I guess if I was in her situation, and I was a Christian, and the leader of the country did not allow anybody to persecute me, I would probably think he was a great guy too. And I think we see that in real time just recently with Bashir in Syria, who really protected the Christians. He was a real moderate Muslim, right? And everybody around them wanted to he wouldn't let them. And that's why he threw so many people in jail. He was a horrible dictator. He did a horrible thing. And then when he was gone, all of a sudden, Christians just stuck out there on their own. Got nobody to protect them. So that was in her mind. She was allowed to worship freely in an Islamic country without fear of being persecuted because of Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
Oh. And in my mind, I'm going, man, this guy's a terrible guy. But to her, he's not quite a terrible guy.
And you said you don't believe him, do you? And she says, of course we did. Why would he lie to us?
Exactly.
And your response was, no reason.
Right. Well, I didn't know what to say to her.
Right.
And I was like, you
don't want to say like, hey, he's terrible because
he's lying to you. He could turn around and kill you tomorrow if he. No, he has no reason to lie. Why would he lie to me, CATOE? He has no reason to lie to me. And I'm thinking, oh, Lord. But I don't want to carry that conversation any further. I just learned a lesson 2 days ago.
Right. Like, right. So, like, the lesson is I need to stop talking and listening.
Exactly.
And so you're like,
right. Even though I wanted to. And
I
just about even said it. I was like, he's.
But you can't tell, like, you can't tell her no when she's like, no, yes. Like, he is protecting us. He has not persecuted us. And you can't, like, how can you possibly argue with that?
And I'm telling you that now, that she was worshiping in a country where he wouldn't allow people to persecute them. I'm not even registering that, having this conversation. That's down the road where I go, well, it's no wonder she didn't think he was this bad. He's protecting them.
Right.
I wasn't allowing myself to comprehend that at the time I'm having the conversation. Right?
I can't imagine you would be.
No, not at all.
You're really having to bite your tongue and
big time. But once again, 2 days earlier,
right,
I've learned my lesson. So
this is that close to the car bomb incident.
2 days later.
Oh.
And then here's another thing. I'm talking to her about her country and about her religion and about her job. And 2 days earlier, we've had a major car bomb that's killed a lot of people and done a lot of damage. And you know how many times she brought it up during our conversation? None.
Really? Was she there?
Yeah, she was working. So once again, normal life for them. It's just a Tuesday.
It's just a Tuesday. Gosh.
Not a Tuesday for me. No. So she don't even discuss the car. The first thing would have been was, for you and I, it'd have been like, Adam, that car bomb the other day, that was horrible. Yeah. This ain't even a conversation.
Unbelievable.
Not even a conversation. Wow.
That's, like, did you want, like, were you wanting to talk about it? Like, oh my gosh, but were you picking up that she just had no interest, or? Was it not on your mind either because you were so floored by the fact that...
It really, when I started talking to her and got into this conversation, the car bomb kind of thinking, it kind of went away in my head, but,
Right.
It hadn't left my thinking.
Right.
I mean, it was still fresh on my mind. And there was a lot of people, even some people that work for the government that had been injured, wasn't coming back to work because they had been hurt. But this is not a topic of conversation for her.
Well, and then...
I mean, we have a bombing somewhere, and we talk about it. It don't even affect me and you. It happens in New Orleans, and we'll talk about it for a week.
Oh, yeah.
This happened 2 blocks away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Boston Marathon.
Exactly.
That was a while ago.
We still talk about it.
Absolutely.
This happened 2 blocks away, 2 days earlier, and she doesn't even mention it.
Gosh.
Nothing.
That's crazy. Well, the next page or so, you gave some background just and I didn't know. I mean, the history of his party, and I'd like, you didn't have to go into the Sunni Shia formation and how they formed and split. You didn't have to do it. This book would have been perfectly complete, but I just thought it added such context to it. You could have just said, hey, they don't like each other, but you took the time to go back and just explain why the Sunni and the Shia kind of were, I'll say formed, but how that all happened. I thought that was good and really informative.
Well, I think I did that twofold. Number one, I didn't remember we talked the other day. They're all the same.
Right.
They're all the same. I didn't understand that Sunni Shia split and how far back it went.
Yeah.
And what it all involved. Number two, it's since that time. And when I would go in the classroom to talk about this to people, we would have conversations. One of the questions kids in the classroom always ask, and people on the street that I talk to that we have conversations ask, what's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between a Sunni and a Shia? And I felt like that was a part that really needed to be explained. And if you read the book, it will tell you from the Prophet Muhammad and his successor, and this is where the split came from and how it came about, and it stuck, and it stuck, and to this day, it stuck. It is what it is. So, I go into a big piece too where I talk about even in the classrooms where I try to make everybody understand that religion and world religion, once you get to know it and understand, it's not a lot of difference. So let's start with the pagans. In the beginning, that's what it was. It was pagans. Mm-hmm. They had sun gods, or they believed in wood, or they believed in golden idols, or whatever the case may be, until Abraham, according to the Bible, was brought out by God and said, look, you're the dude, man. You're going forward, you're it, right? And Judaism's born. And here's Jews go on forever and ever and ever and ever. And then Christianity, Jesus Christ comes along. Now Christianity's in it. So now you've got the Jews and you've got Christianity. And then somewhere around the year 700, Muhammad pops up. He says that he was in the desert, he escaped from a prison, and the angel Gabriel came and gave him a whole new set of, the Quran. Mm-hmm. So now we got the 3 major religions. We got Judaism, we got Christianity, and we got Islam. Well, Christianity splits East and West Church, right? Which I never knew. I didn't know there was an Eastern Orthodox and a Western Church. So that's Catholics and Eastern Orthodox. They split. They had a big argument over the Nicene Creed, and they just split. Islam split. Sunni, Shia. We have Eastern Orthodox, Catholic. Then, within the Western Church, the Reformation comes along, and it splits and continues to divide. Islam did the same thing. Within their sects, they have Wahhabi, they have this, they have that. If you look at it on a scale. Both churches, Christian and Islam, one belief, one guy, one God, and they just start splintering all the way down. And as they splinter, they come up with new beliefs, ideas, some radical, some not. On both sides. We got as many radical Christians running around here as we do radical Islamists, and that's a fact. So there's not a lot of difference in the break. There's just a difference in the main end goal belief.
And some of the doctrines and the ways of achieving things. And I don't claim to be an expert, not even close, in Islam, but my understanding is Muhammad never denied that Jesus was.
No, they say he was a great prophet.
Yeah, that's what it is. And
Prophet.
I had read that Mary is mentioned more times in the Quran than in the Bible.
Yeah.
I don't know that to be true, but I had read it was an article that came out after September 11th, and that they were doing all these studies on Islam, and yeah, it'd be fascinating to know if that to be fact checked on that. But I had heard that that's.
The first 5 books of the Bible, or what we call it, the Jews call it Torah. It's pretty much, it's Jewish-based, Christian-based, Islam-based. They believe in Abraham. They believe, it's a lot of this all falls into one. And the even stranger thing about it, it's all born in the same region.
Right.
Right?
Right.
All born in the same region. So you talk about Iraq. Well, we sit in Iraq. Outside of Israel in the Old Testament and the New Testament, in the Old Testament outside of Israel, Iraq is the number 1 mentioned country in the Bible. It just doesn't say Iraq. It's just all the places that were in it. That's where Abraham came from. That's where, everything starts. Mesopotamia, Samaria, all of that. That's all Iraq.
Oh, that's crazy.
So it's just that whole world over there is religious based. I guess you could say back to the beginning of civilization.
Sure. And I don't know where, like, Hinduism and Buddhism, I don't know how they came in their story, but
it's got a lot to do with the Tower of Babel, and everybody started talking different languages because they're trying to build this tower to heaven, and nobody can understand each other, so they just went their own ways, and
Well, but it's fascinating that the Sunni and the Shia have been at war, just at each other's throats, literally. And it's all started with just how they named Muhammad's successor.
Yeah. They thought Muhammad should name one guy, and he didn't. He named another, and that's where the split came. So,
and then it's ever since.
It's just been that way. Now, there's been a lot of peace, I'd say, through the 90s and 2000s between the Sunni and the Shia. I think in a lot of ways, Saddam caused that not on purpose.
But now the 80s, there was there was nasty.
No, and he conscripted them and made them fight the Iranians, who are Shia.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a heavy Shia prospect of people on that side. And Saddam's making the Shia go fight the Shia. Now, they're not liking that a lot. But Saddam at one time, when you go back into that Gulf War area, he was so hard on the country itself because he'd been beaten. Everything was getting depleted. At that time, he was as hard on the Sunnis as he was on some of the Shia, too, as well, right? So he kind of brought them, in a way, I wouldn't say together, but they began to get along. Because things were so bad, they didn't really have a choice. So that kind of infighting kind of stopped till we came back in for this war. And then it was, we better grab what we can grab. We want this, we want that, blah, 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 take it on our side. And it became a power struggle. And the Sunnis had the majority, and if they're going to do majority of vote, there you go. So you'll see as we go forward, them trying to regulate that out, almost like we do. You go to a state that's a heavy Democrat, you're going to have more Democratic senators and congressmen representation in Congress. Well, it's the same thing there. the heavier majority is going to have more of the representation. And they were trying to find a way to even that out. I'm not sure where we got there, but it'll be interesting
fascinating.
watching it move forward. Yeah.
And so that's like I said, I'm so glad that you did that. Even though it's like just, it's a long paragraph, but it's just one paragraph, but it just adds so much context to everything. So I'm glad that you did that. Was Amal in Saddam's political party?
Yeah. So Saddam had a party called the Ba'ath Party, Ba'athist Party, and you didn't have to be a member of the Ba'athist Party. And if you were a Shia, most likely you were not a member of the Ba'athist Party.
But it wasn't exclusive to Sunnis.
No, it wasn't exclusive to Sunnis.
Because Amal was a Christian.
Because Amal was a Christian. So here's the deal. If you wanted to achieve any goal in that country, if you wanted to move up, if you wanted an education, if you wanted to own a business, if you wanted a good job, if you wanted to live a good life, you damn well better be a member of the Ba'ath Party. Otherwise, you're going to live in squalor. And people chose to live in squalor rather than to fall on Saddam's side. She wasn't one. She decided to join the Ba'ath Party. She says, it's the only way I can get my education. She went to university in Baghdad. She had her master's degree in education and in business. And, look, it lands her a job in the government at the end of the day. I don't know how much she was making. She wasn't getting rich at that point, I'm sure. But, she's got a good job and good standing, but it was because she was in the Ba'ath Party.
And it didn't matter that she was female? Didn't matter that she was Christian?
Nope, did not. Now, a portion of her money went to the Ba'ath Party, just like Republicans, Democrats, that money goes into their...
You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Right. Yeah. Even though Saddam was never going to lose an election because there wasn't going to be one.
Well, could this have happened? And I know we're kind of drifting because we do want to talk about them all, but because we're talking about the Shia and Sunni, and Iran is Shia.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah,
mostly Shia. Could that have happened? Could she have been a female Christian and have a job doing well in Iran?
I doubt it.
Yeah. Okay.
I doubt it, especially at that time. I doubt it. Truly doubt it. Yeah.
I'm just curious. All right. Let's go back to Amal. Well, you said that she did not know Saddam's story, his bio.
No.
Not just. I know you said that she didn't think he was a bad guy, but you even said she did not know that he was born a bastard child from a mother who was a prostitute and his uncle raised him.
She had no idea, and nobody over there that was not in his inner circle or was around when he was a child knew it either.
Why would they?
Wasn't something he was going to advertise on Saddam TV, which they had to watch all the time. So no, she didn't know. She thinks this guy, he's a great guy. He was born to be this great leader, and here he is now.
And he treated her well, as far as she knew.
As far as she knew, now she would have been. And one thing I never really got to sit and talk to her a lot about her childhood, because she, when he came into power, she wasn't in existence, so she was born later on. So, her family was Christians as well, so that's where she was raised through the Christianity there. So I never really got to talk to her about her childhood. I don't know what her childhood was like being a Christian, but it obviously wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't look any worse for the wear, to me, right?
Well, anyone listening, watching this, or reading this book up until this point is probably like, Saddam wasn't a bad guy. He liked the Christians. It's great. He did not like the Shia.
He did not like the Shia.
And you mentioned just how much he did not like the Shia. You said that the Sunni lived a decent, not perfect life under Saddam because he was, the Sunni lived a decent, not perfect life under Saddam because he was born Sunni. And obviously the Christians, for whatever reason, did fine. The Shia did not. And then you elaborated on some of that.
Yeah, he was horrible to them. I mean, he treated them terrible. I mean, the torture that he put them through, the prisons that they stayed in, it was bad. And you'll see as we go forward, especially how his sons get involved. It just gets really bad. The Shia weren't even second class citizens. They were below that.
They weren't even treated like humans. Forget citizens. They
No.
just weren't even humans. You said
Not at all.
what Amal did not elaborate on was the fact that Saddam used humans for target practice to test everything from grenades to landmines to electrocution. These were all Shia. And then you said, and it was worse than I thought, as I would learn with my own eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. And he would test different types of grenades on these guys, different types of lamb. They come up with a new weapon. He's like, send some of those guys out there. Let's see what it does to them, right? Boom. And they knew it was coming. I mean, he would take them from their houses, tie them up, take them out there, kill them, do whatever they needed to do to them. You know, he would take some of them. If he felt like your family was, talking bad about him or had hiding seekers for, he would take people from your home and take them up on top of big buildings in front of you and tie their hands behind their back, just throw them off.
And they didn't have to be anti-Ba'athists,
They had to be nothing,
just Shia.
just Shia. Yeah. Like I said, Saif was even afraid of his own family members reporting back to Saddam that they were saying something against him.
Was he a Shia?
He was.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Saif was a Shia.
I get it.
Sure
I'd be
enough.
afraid too. God, but like, I still can't. I still like you said. You said I still couldn't process it. I still can't. But he was fine with Christians.
Fine with Christians. And then what I find out is as I look along and I think about it, until the radical Islamist extremists came along, right, in these countries over there and started trying to get a foothold, like Al Qaeda and so on and so forth. I can't find a place where Islam really ever looked down on or treated Christianity bad throughout history.
I know there's the Crusades.
Well, the Crusades were a different story.
Yeah.
So the Crusades were, I think that was more from our standpoint of we got to keep Christianity alive. They were looking for land. But even after they took it over, they still allowed Christians to practice their religion without fear of being persecuted. That's relatively new to us, I think, yeah.
And surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know it until we just sat down and had this conversation.
You were more likely to be killed for being an American or a Westerner than you were for being a Christian born in that land. Yeah.
Gosh, that's fascinating. And I know we detoured into a topic I admittedly don't know anything about, but that's kind of the point. Is it's like this is all so surprising and fascinating, and it's
And this
That's
is
crazy.
stuff I'm grasping little by little and starting to put these pieces of puzzle together and go, wow.
because it is the pieces, and I think that's something that I think that's important for everybody to learn is that the pieces do actually come together. There is a picture to be formed here that makes sense. It's just hard to make sense when we only have these 5 pieces of the puzzle and they have these 5 pieces of the puzzle, and that's all you see. But they do come together.
They do
And
come
it's
together.
fascinating.
But it has to be on a worldly and a global mindset. You can't be born in a small town like I was in Kershaw, South Carolina, and go to Kershaw Second Baptist Church and understand the rest of it. It's never going to happen. It's just because you're never
Right.
going to be, it's never going to enter your world.
Well, and Amal, who is from there, didn't understand it either
No.
because she wasn't allowed to. And, Saddam, who controlled all this information, he probably honestly didn't understand it all himself either.
Oh, I'm sure he didn't.
That's just so fascinating. Okay. So the Shia and the Sunni, not friends. But then there's a group that he liked even less than the Shia,
The Kurds.
the Kurds.
Hated the Kurds. And we've touched on this before. The Kurds were in the north of Iraq, and they're also in Iran and Turkey and Syria. They're kind of spread out, but in the Iraq proper. So altogether, there's about 4.8 million of them we've talked about before that don't have their own country. So they want to be autonomous. So they want their own country, and always had. So they've always been fighting against Saddam anyway, but they've always been fighting against Turkey too. So they're kind of surrounded by enemy here, and nobody wants to give them land. And of course, there's the famous piece where we talked about where he gassed the Kurds, killed 5,000 of them, but he could not stand the Kurds. And the Kurds, by their own right, man, they are a people who they kind of remind me of the Gurkhas in a way. You're not going to beat the Kurds. You know, you will have to gas them. That's about the only way you're going to get rid of them. They'll fight you. They're tough. They're from a mountainous area. They know how to grow and take care of themselves. They know how to survive, and they've been surviving for so long. And Saddam couldn't beat them either. So even trying to gas them out, he couldn't do that. But he did. He could not stand the Kurds. Really couldn't.
And the gassing played a big role in why, when he would make the argument, we don't have weapons of mass destruction. We don't have or use chemical weapons. And it's like, no. We know you gassed the Kurd. Like we know you do. And so that was sort of this, I mean, of course, like, why would we not think that he did?
It was a good play. You know, we talk about weapons of mass destruction. Can gas be a weapon of mass destruction?
Right. If you lump chemical weapons into that
Absolutely,
category.
It can.
Right.
What we were being sold a bill of goods on was not just the gas, though.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of other things. So this gas was kind of a one-time shot. But absolutely, the proof was in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's got weapons of mass destruction. Look what he did to these 5,000 people.
He's clearly using chemical weapons.
And I can tell you that from my end, from being in the Marine Corps, I mean, they had even briefed us on the fact that, hey, we're going to knock a lot of this out before you get there. You may have to go into gas mask at times, but for the most part, we're going to wipe this out before it even becomes a problem for you as a troop on the ground. They were telling us that.
Well, I remember when it all started, it was because that was what we were expecting, just these massive gas attacks.
Right.
That didn't happen.
Never happened. Didn't come to fruition.
Why?
It wasn't there.
And that's sort of this kind of frustration of it wasn't there, but yet he had it and he used it, but then it wasn't and he didn't. And so I think that's sort of this.
And there'll always be arguments that he used what he had. That's all he had, or he would have gassed the whole of entire region.
That's true.
He used what he had. That's all he could make at the time. There's other arguments that what he did have, he moved to Syria and buried it somewhere. Mm-hmm. I find that not to be true because you'll find later on in the book, Saddam tried to go to Syria and they wouldn't let him in. So if I'm going to let you bury all your stuff over here, why would why would I stop you? I'm going to be your friend and hide you to begin. No.
Yeah, because then Syria's left holding the bag. Like
Correct. So I just don't think he had it. I don't think and you know what? It's 2025. We hadn't found anything yet.
It's one of those.
No
mysteries.
one has accidentally dug something up over there. So I just don't think he had it. And I don't know. I'm just telling you what my opinion is. If I hated the Kurds that much and I had enough of weapons of mass destruction, then why not try to kill all 4 million of them instead of 5,000 of them?
Right. I mean, if you're clearly willing to use them to get rid of some, why not get rid of them all?
Exactly.
It's just one of those kind of open-ended mysteries that I think is frustrating. It's got to be frustrating to the people who were over there, and it's
frustrating everybody on a whole. We committed hundreds of thousands of troops to this thing for that one reason.
Yeah.
For that one reason, that we've never found one piece of evidence that any of it existed.
And we're not. I feel bad. We're not giving Amal her justice. It has all these amazing.
Well, this is
tangents.
an introduction to Amal. Amal will get her justice as we move
Okay.
forward.
Okay, good.
She becomes a very integral part of my life, and simply because, number one, here she is. She's a Christian. I could talk to her much more than I could talk to your average female there. Okay, 'cause a lot of those females who were full on Muslim on the Shia side, who wore everything to. I'm not speaking to them. Can't touch them. Can't nothing. Right. Some of the Sunni women are a little more westernized in their thinking and in their ways, especially with makeup and the way they dress. They wanted to be pretty and high-heeled people. They wanted that end of it. And you could speak to them, but not as candidly as I was able to speak to Amal. And Amal and I were able to have some great conversations, and she's kind of led me into different places and helped me understand things that I couldn't understand and not just from religion and from, I'm talking in government, infrastructure, even food. This is the kind of food you want to eat. This is the kind of food you don't want. I mean, she was there, right? She would because there were certain things that Muslims couldn't eat.
Oh, yeah, true.
She could. So you weren't going to find a lot of pork there to begin with, but
Right.
if you were able to come across it, she could eat it. But the two people on either side of me couldn't touch it, right? So, I had to understand what they were allowed to do, their cleaning habits, how they clean themselves compared to Christians, how they prayed 5 times a day, where they prayed, why they prayed, which way they pointed to pray, what the different musics meant during the day, in the morning, the prayers at night, She walked me through all of this. So instead of me just hearing,
Not.
I kind of understood. It's like being on a military base. You got taps at night.
Sure
you got
do.
reveille in the morning. You got colors at 8 o'clock. It's kind of the same thing. So now I'm understanding, this is why they're doing this at this time, and this is why they're doing it at this time. She's beginning to make me understand the day in the life of an Islamic believer, right? This is what they do. So without her giving me that direction, and I could go to her, I could walk in and go, hey, what's going on out here now? Oh, CATOE, she tell me everything. History behind it, why they're doing what they're doing, the whole thing. When to disturb somebody, when not to disturb somebody. When they're in prayer, what they're doing, what it is. And those were things that, as simple as they sound, I could have really offended someone by walking up and tapping them on the shoulder at the wrong time because I had a question.
And you assume that they would be understanding and forgiving. Be like, oh, well, he just doesn't know. But that's
Some would be.
right. But some
Some would not.
would not.
Right.
And if you're ever driving on a base and you don't know why all the cars are stopped,
The
just
flag's
check
going
the-
up,
Yeah,
baby.
check the time on your watch or the dashboard. You'll know why, because you can't always hear it.
No,
but
you can't.
But some can, and check the time.
And then you've got to think another thing she walks me through too, and I'm not even sure I go heavy into this in the book. I might. I can't remember, but I don't think. But let's talk a little bit about Ramadan.
Yeah, you didn't mention that.
Okay, so there's a whole Islamic celebration of Ramadan here
Right.
that is a huge thing that has all kind of traditions and all kind of things you can and cannot do during this time. So they can't drink water, they can't smoke during the day, they can't do this, can't do. I'm a smoker, I was a smoker then, I'm not now, but there was things I shouldn't do in front of them, even though they know I'm not Islamic and I don't fall under that rule.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of like, come on, man, I can't. Why are you doing that in front of me, knowing that I can't and I really want to? So she would teach me about different times, different holidays, different things they could do and could not do that kept me on the good side of them and not making me look like I was just some bumbling idiot, right? So she helped me a lot with that. She was a big guide in all of that.
And serendipitously, 2 days after you really, and it's not 2 days after the car bomb. It's 2 days after the events of the car bomb made you realize that you needed this, and then here she is.
Yeah, and then there's a bigger irony behind it, because now if she tells me all this, I'm like, well, wow. So Amal, I've got to deal with all the Sunnis that are here in the government and all the Shia and they here in the government, and they hate each other. She's like, no. They don't hate each other. It's more of a tribal thing. That it's different tribes within and around Iraq that I find out that really hate each other more so. Like, Saif got along great with Sunni, and a lot of Sunni get along great with Saif. And Amal was kind of a bridge between all of that with everybody too, right? She'd keep everybody on the same page. So it wasn't just because there were some guys that I would ask, because I would start asking, you a Sunni or a Shia? And one guy told me, he didn't even know. I don't know. You don't know what you, no, I don't know. I don't know if I'm Sunni. I'll go home and ask. He didn't even know if he was. So it wasn't as deep as the history of it is. So 700 years, it's 700, AD, It was bad. And it stayed bad and bad. But today, it's not. There is prejudice against each other, but I think it's in groups and in tribes, and not so much of, oh, you're a Sunni, I'm a Shia, I hate your guts. It doesn't work that way now.
What, within the first 30 seconds of today's episode, you said it's a people story.
It's a people story.
At the end of it's still people.
And you'll find out, too, like the U.S. Army. So the U.S. Army's put in a situation they've never been in either. So there's reservoirs out there. They got to kind of, water's extremely important in the middle of the desert. Well, Sunnis live on one side, as Shia live on the other. It's tribal. They used to share that when Saddam was in power. Now one of them wants to be in control. So the Army's out there trying to negotiate. Hey, wait a minute, man. Look, why don't y'all go? This is both your. No, we want it. We're the Sunni, it belongs. No, we're the Shia, we think it. So, you had those type of things going on. And then the poor Army, poor soldier in the middle of this going, this ain't war. I'm trying to negotiate this religious deal here. Who's got to do, who gets to keep this reservoir? And it would get so bad that they would sabotage and blow up the dams. Oh. They would go in and they would set bombs, and they would do, not to kill or hurt a soldier, but to mess up the infrastructure of that reservoir because they couldn't have control of it. It was just odd. It was just bizarre.
They didn't teach that at Fort Jackson.
But on the compound that I was on, I never saw, and I'm going to say from a government worker standpoint, let's say, I'm not talking about the ministers, all right? I'm talking about the everyday worker that came in and pushed paper, Shia and Sunni. I never saw them, and Kurds, I never saw those three have any bad interaction with each other.
Really?
Now, up here, on the minister level, oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because we went through the Iraqi governing council.
Oh, yeah.
And you said that people had some issues
up
with
there,
other people.
it was. And it was religious, and it was political, and it was territorial. And yes, these guys down here, they didn't see that fight so much. Mm-hmm. It was almost like they couldn't control it anyway, right?
Right.
So why should I hate you for something I can't control? They were understanding in that matter. These guys up here were not. We're going to fight to get what we get. This is where Brimmer had to dance a dance, was up here.
Well, that makes it even tougher when we were talking last episode, though, because, like you said, the people in the streets, they're people. They just see them as other people. But yet also, car bombs, suicide bombs are their everyday life. So it's like it's like they don't necessarily see it, but they see it. Like
they do.
So that's got to make it.
So
that's going to make it tougher.
You got Sunni and you got Shia, and they walk the street every day. And then you got radical Sunni and Shia, and they don't care about these regular people.
Right.
They got a mission to accomplish for Allah. Not for the government, not for the people. Allah has directed us to do this. This is the mission. We're doing this for God. God has told us to do this. And then that takes every piece of chess piece off the board, right?
Right.
So nothing's playing here anymore. These guys are doing destruction because God said. These guys don't believe that are walking the street here. They're not radicals.
Right. Oh,
They're not radicals.
man. Wow. Okay. We don't have a ton of time left, but I told you before I had a question. So you said that I told Amal one day that after we captured Saddam, we could start to level the country out, move it in a good direction. And she started laughing, and you said, "Why do you laugh?" She says, "CATOE, I know that you and the rest of the Americans have come to this country thinking that you will destroy Saddam Hussein. This can't be done. None of you will ever catch Saddam. He will not be found, and you can do nothing to change that."
Laughed in my face.
Had you already captured him at this time?
No.
Okay, that was my question.
No,
It's
he's
like,
still
is you
running.
captured and she just didn't know?
He still runs. So we're talking about our country. She and I are having a conversation about the country moving forward. And I'm like, hey, once we get Saddam, he gets captured, we get his sons, we get everything in order, you're going to have an opportunity to sail. And she just started laughing. I mean laughing. And she goes, you guys are never going to catch Saddam. It is impossible. It's impossible. This guy had so much power and so much hold over the people in his country. They truly believed he was that invincible. We were never going to get our hands on him. He's gone, or he's going to make a comeback. He's coming back. So now a lot of them didn't know how to act because they didn't know for real. They're like, people in this country are going, they're never going to catch this guy. If we fall on the side of the Americans here, what happens when Saddam gets back in power? What happens to us then? Right? That was their level of thinking. Uh-huh. The government above them, the ones who had been exiled outside the country, who were better educated and had been away from his power and his control, knew that eventually the United States military was going to catch this guy. But the average everyday person that had been living under his rule for their whole life truly and honestly believed we were never going to get our hands on this guy. It wasn't going to happen, and there's a good chance he's coming back into power.
Did their confidence in any way make you almost second guess it? Like in other words, we're like, of course we're going to get him, right?
No,
right?
I didn't. I knew we'd eventually. I thought he might already be dead, for one thing. I was wrong, but I thought he might be. I knew we'd either get him or we'd kill him. It was going to eventually happen. I was quite impressed, though, that one man could convince that many people that he was that powerful. But then I go back to people like Jim Jones. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. I mean,
we could do a whole episode on how I don't get it. Anyway, I'm like, I don't know how.
Right.
How does he?
But I was impressed. I was like, it's him and his two sons. It's a family, and they have that much hold over these people that they truly believe the United States military, the most powerful military in the world, is not going to catch this guy.
Yeah. And it's easy to say, well, his control was based on fear. Well, of course, a lot of it was. But she didn't say that out of fear of Saddam. She said because she just didn't think you could do it.
Hers was more out of a healthy respect.
Yeah.
Than fear. Yeah. Safe had a fear.
Sure.
But she didn't. Hers was a healthy respect. Yeah. If he would have come back, that's okay. I still get to go to church, do my thing, and he'll take care of me. That was her thinking.
Okay. Last thing, and this will only take a few seconds, is I like the way this ended because it truly goes full circle. Because you said that Amal helped you put a bandage on the relationship between Saif and you as the days went on. You said Saif and I sat down for a long time, and I just listened as he told me about my life.
Yep, I got it. He told me. He told me everything about when he was a child, growing up there. That's where he told me about the fear of families had fear that if you talked bad about Saddam in your own house, they would report back to him that this was the fear he had, and he just told me everything about his childhood growing up. He told me about his religion. He told me about, him being a Shia and what he did believe within Islamic religion, what he thought was it real. He asked me a lot about Christianity, What did I think about it? Do I really think that Jesus was this guy? And we just had just a great conversation, and I just let him talk and let him talk.
So the flip side to that is that means that prior to this, you hadn't talked to him about his life and all of that.
At all.
So did you almost feel guilty at that point of like, man, why
I was just fixing to say to you, sadly, when I got over there, I didn't care.
I'll bet you didn't. Why would you?
I didn't care about his life. You're my translator. You're here to translate for me, and you better not lie to me, right? That's all. Yeah, I didn't care. I didn't care about his life. I had no absolute nothing invested in his life that affected me whatsoever. But it did. I just didn't know. Yeah.
Love it. Okay. See, it's not a war story. It's a story about humanity. All right. 30 seconds. The end of the beginning is the next one.
Well,
what are we going to learn about there?
This is where the United States government, United States military take some pretty big forward steps, and now we can start to heal this country. This is the beginning of the end of all of this, right? So we can get to moving now. We can start making this country form.
And we are gonna hear more about Amal.
A bunch.
Good.
Yep.
And of course the Gurkhas.
Well, and the Gurkhas. You're going to hear about
I gotta go back to the Gurkhas.
I'm always happy Gurkhas. All the time. Yeah.
And you left us in a bit of a suspense about whether or not you get actually invited to the party.
Yep.
Later.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll get into it.
We'll
get into it as we go along. Yeah.
All right. Well, we said this was gonna be short. It was an hour.
An hour.
It was over an hour
Wow.
on a 5-page chapter. But it was like we did go, and like I said, you didn't have to give that history, and you certainly didn't need to talk about it today. But it's just, I think, so valuable, and I'm so glad you did.
It certainly is. Understanding that part of the world, and that everything this world believes, well, at least the Western world believes from a religious standpoint today, and in the Eastern world as well. Well, this is where it all started. It's right there, bottom line. And it is a deep, deep history, and it's deep.
Well, and just as a credit to you, and like I said, the fact that you were able to put, and obviously it's a more complicated religion than one paragraph, but the fact that you were able to succinctly, but still give the information that was necessary to just kind of lay out there, and the way it was worded and the way you wrote it is a credit to you, and that is why this book is up for Military Writers Society Award, gold, silver, bronze.
Oh, yeah, please, and like I said, go to the YouTube channels of the Project 1791, all one word there. Unsubscribe and let us know what you think. We'll just keep moving.
We will.
We're getting through it pretty good.
We are. I love it. All right. Stay tuned.